It's a con job. I think affordability is the greatest con job. They look at you and they say, affordability. They don't say anything else. Everyone says, oh, their prices were so low. No, they had the worst inflation.
President Trump continues to call the affordability crisis nothing but a Democratic con job. And to be fair, Trump has a legitimate gripe. Much of the crisis was caused by Joe Biden's inflation. It is not Trump's fault, maybe, but it is his problem. And NewsNation has learned the president will hit the road next week to Pennsylvania to assure anxious Americans that the days of high prices and inflation will be over soon. It's a tough sell. Nearly 46% of Americans say U.S. costs of living are the worst they can remember. 37% of Trump voters agree with that, although that means that 63% of Trump voters do not. 46% of Americans blame Trump for the affordability crisis compared to just 29% who point to Biden. The explanation from the Trump administration is not landing. And for Gen Z, the outlook is even bleaker. A majority, 57%, say the country is headed in the wrong direction. Inflation tops their list of concerns. 43% say they're barely getting by or struggling financially. And now a new worry is taking hold. Artificial intelligence. 59% of Gen Z see AI as a threat to their job prospects more than immigration or outsourcing. With us now, Margaret Olohan, White House correspondent for the Daily Wire, Philip Wegmann, White House correspondent for RealClearPolitics. We'll get the wide shot going here. Does the White House privately understand that this is a big problem?
Some of the White House advisors that I've talked to, they believe that they've done the majority of their work already. That the One Big Beautiful Bill passed, and they only have to wait until that legislation becomes One Big Beautiful.
Wait till it bakes in.
Exactly, bakes in, takes effect, and those become beautiful refund checks. I think the problem that the White House is falling into, and Republicans are doing the same generally, is they're asking the American people for patience. They're saying that our legislation, once it kicks into effect, is going to take care of things. That sounds suspiciously a lot like Joe Biden. It's what frosted him in the last midterms. A lot of people were angry about the economy in 2024. They're still angry. We saw that in the latest midterm elections. And frankly, you know, they don't want just cheaper eggs. They want to be able to afford their mortgage, or if they're under 40, to have a mortgage in the first place.
Right. So that is Scott Bessent's argument of give us some time. Here you go.
Interest rates are down, and 10-year bond, again, best year since 2020, and inflation led by energy prices is going to roll next year. I think it's going to be a fantastic year.
To be fair, Mary Margaret, if they're right by June, this is all sort of a moot point, right?
Exactly. And I mean, that's what J.D. Vance, Mike Johnson, Donald Trump are all saying, is that, look, like Phil's saying, have patience with us. We did inherit the worst economy we've ever had. It was Joe Biden's fault, which they point to over and over and over again. And give us time, and things are going to play out. I think J.D. Vance just said this in the cabinet meeting. We're going to see it summer 2026. Mike Johnson was just talking about that today. He said, wait till we see the One Big Beautiful Bill benefits kick into gear. And so they're saying that. But I think, you know, you can tell from the president, even publicly, he's a little frustrated that he has to message on this. And when he says this is a Democrat hoax, it's kind of the way he was talking about the Epstein files and other things. He's not saying it's completely fake. He's saying, I don't like how they're using it against me. And it's something that, you know, maybe we shouldn't have to explain for him. But at the end of the day, that is what he's messaging.
Well, that's what he's saying. There's a number of Republican commentators, and normally Trump, either Trump adjacent or Trump supporting, who say that this is something the White House isn't taking seriously enough. Here you go.
Midterms are coming. They need a strategy, and empathizing with the public probably would help.
Where the White House is totally missing and fumbling, and most Republicans in Washington, is trying to pretend that the economy is great for regular people when it clearly is not.
But people are going to, as you pointed out, they're going to evaluate the president about what kind of pain they're experiencing right now.
What, Phil, 2 weeks before Christmas, does the president say in Western Pennsylvania?
Yeah, I'm waiting to see what his affordability argument is. There have been a lot of opportunities for him at the McDonald's summit or any time that he's made public remarks since the special elections, the off-year elections, where Republicans had that blue wave crash down on them. And he has still stuck with this line that it's a hoax. Certainly Democrats, you know, they oversaw a pretty rough economy when inflation was at 9%. But he hasn't really made the continuing argument, which is, you know, Democrats aren't reasonable on this. I'm doing better better, inflation's down. We'll have to, wait and see how he squares that circle. But I think that what's really interesting is that you have Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is arguing to Republicans. She was the congressional canary in the coal mine, saying your messaging is not working. MAGA voters, they still feel pain every time they're at the grocery or the gas station. And what did the president do to her? Well, he ran her out of office.
Mary Margaret, where does this go? Who is in the president's corner on this?
Well, I think, first of all, it's not as bleak, in my opinion, as what we're hearing from the public a lot of the time and from a lot of the reporters who are asking questions. I mean, if you look, gas prices are down. Inflation. Well,
that's the thing they point to, right? They say gas prices are down. They're now 4 or 5 cents cheaper than they were the same time a year ago.
And they are. It's true. And, inflation is in a much better position than it was under Biden, for example. At one point, it was up to 9%, right, in 2021, and now it's down to 2.7, I think. So things are in a better position. So I don't think it's as entirely bleak as we thought it was before. But at the same time, you've got people like Tony Fabrizio giving that meeting reported by Politico, where he talked to these GOP consultants and said, look, you got to talk more about affordability. That's why this race was so close in Tennessee. So obviously, Republicans are taking it into account.
There's the affordability issue. There's also now sort of this other wave that is coming, which has been these layoffs in corporate America because of AI and because of a lot of the efficiencies of AI. Young Americans are terrified of it because it's taking away so many entry-level jobs. Joe Rogan had on the CEO of NVIDIA to talk about this problem. Here we go.
But don't you think there's many jobs that AI will replace?
If your job is
automation.
The task. Yeah, if your job is the task.
Right. So automation.
Yeah.
Factory
if your
workers.
job, if your job is the task.
That's a lot of people.
Is the administration ready for what's coming with this?
I don't know if the administration or any of us are ready for this brave new world. We saw 1 million layoffs this year. Certainly the unemployment rate is healthy at 4.4%. But if those 1 million layoffs are just a dress rehearsal for things to come because corporations and companies are restructuring to be prepared for AI, then we might look back at this moment and say that it was a precursor of things to come.
Yeah, you think about where this would be. It would be Western Pennsylvania. It would be the factories of middle America. Give you this last point, Mary Margaret, and I think there is something in this polling because I've always been taught, look at the flip side of a poll, right? Polls show that nearly half, 46% of Americans say living costs are the worst they can remember. That means 54% can remember some time that was worse. 37% of Trump voters, that means 63% of Trump voters, if we do the inverse of this, think that there was times that were worse, a vast majority of them. What is the way to capture that for the White House?
Well, I think the White House is already doing that and reminding them of, look how times were in past administrations. You weren't doing well under past administrations. I mean, that's Donald Trump's whole platform, right, in the past election. It's kind of what Zohran Mamdani was also going for, this idea of, I can change your life for the better. Look at how it is now. It's a similar message from Donald Trump. And so I think we're going to see a lot of that kind of messaging from other candidates.
So don't compare me to perfect. Compare me. Don't compare me to the almighty. Compare me to the alternative. Was that what Biden used to say?
Trump doesn't see a difference between those two often.
Oh, boy. All right. Phil, Mary Margaret, thank you very much.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.